Gunline, gunline, gunline. Fire mission coming down, y'all. I'm your host, Lopez, and you're listening to the Gunline podcast, where we chop it up and shoot it out like we would out in the field. So go on and hop a squat because it's about to get hot right now. You are on the gun line. This episode is number 306, and today we're going to do not something a little bit different, but I'm going to just talk a little bit more about, well, not a little bit more, but just talk about the GWOT. All right. In case we have any civilians out here who don't know what GWOT is the Global War on Terrorism. All right. That was the war that we were involved in with Afghanistan and Iraq from 2001 to 2021. So 20 years that we spent out there in the Middle East. And yeah, let's go ahead and let's talk some GWOT, baby. If this is your first time here, though, do me a quick solid. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel here on YouTube, or if you're listening to us on the podcast platforms, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever it is, just go ahead and subscribe there as well. Do me a favor, if you could rate it, comment on it, do what you can to get the algorithm going in order to keep spreading out the podcast. This year, I'm planning to actually start taking this a little more seriously as far as advancing with it, I guess you could say. You know, like the past 3 years have just been honestly just me more or less just coming on here, shooting it up and chopping it up and kicking it with others, which has been good therapy for myself as well as others that have come on here. And what ended up happening over the week, and I'll let y'all know how I ended up with this GWOT talk. What ended up happening was one of our friend of the podcast, she was a guest on here. Her name is Sergeant Ashley Smith. Had put on Facebook, if you haven't done so, go watch Escape from Kabul. It's on Max. So me, against my best freaking judgment, decided to go watch it. And needless to say, it was a very triggering per se. I hate using that word because it sounds like one of those snowflake words, but it was definitely something that hit me in the feels, y'all. All right. I wasn't even 10 minutes in and I already was, I was getting emotional on it, especially when you start thinking about the kids and whatnot that were affected. Basically, Escape from Kabul has to do with the pulling out of Afghanistan. I've said this before and I'll say it again. No matter who would have been in charge or in power, whenever we ended up leaving the stand, they were going to take a hit for it. You know what I mean? It was going to be criticized. However, I will say that the way that the Biden administration went about it was horrible, terrible, disgusting, showed lack of planning, lack of compassion, lack of understanding, and most of all, just lack of leadership. All right. How did we end up there? How did we end up with 20 years of war? Well, for that, we have to go to 9/11, right? So I remember when 9/11 happened, I was working as a dental assistant out in Miami, Florida. I had just moved to Florida that year in 2001, in February of 2001. And so, you know, the towers happened. I still remember seeing it on TV like everybody else did. That was, you know, alive during that time. I guess that was our Pearl Harbor. And immediately, like every other red-blooded American, wanted there to be some reaction, some retaliation to the ass whooping that these guys put on us, you know? And once, I mean, if you want to know what happened, just go check out the Toby Keith song, you know, rest in peace, Toby Keith. You know, what's it called? Like Angry American. Either way, like everybody else, I was pissed off that this shit happened, especially in New York, seeing innocent people being killed and losing their lives, you know, on just what could have been any other day. Well, as soon as Afghanistan was named the spot to hit, they started dropping bombs on them, like, doing what they do. The guys that, that wear flip flops and shorts out on bases, they were out there first handling business and doing what they do. Their special operations type deals. And then somehow or another, after stuff was going on over there, at the time there was no really a need or necessity for people to enlist in the military. All right. So unfortunately, due to my background in my past that I've talked about many a times before, I was unable to join the military during that time. Then in 2003, in 2001, while that still was going on in Afghanistan, you had the SF doing what they got to do, and the Army was doing what they do, the military was doing what they do. Then for some reason in 2003, Bush and all his great wisdom decided that Iraq has something to do with it too. Now, Afghanistan, I get it. Al Qaeda was there. So that's who we were going after, was Al Qaeda, according to, I guess, the information or intel that the government was receiving. And honestly, now after all these years that have gone by, I wonder how much of that was bullshit too, honestly. But we ended up going into Iraq. So when Iraq kicked off, I, like everyone else, was looking at the news, and I was pumped up, like, yeah, let's go get these motherfuckers. I took it hook, line, and sinker. And I'll tell you what, though, I mean, it's not like I've been wanting to join the military since I was a fucking kid, like a little ass kid. And now, because of my past, it was kind of being brushed aside. They were giving me the opportunity to join. So November 2003, I went to the recruiter center out there in downtown in Miami, and got down with one of the recruiters there, and he told me what I needed to do, and he did what he had to do, and I was able to, after 1 year, all right, of going through all this crap, I was able to enlist. So November 2003 to November 2004, I was finally able to enlist into the Army. At first, I wanted to go in as a tanker because I wanted to be in the ship. You know what I mean? I wanted to be a tanker. And also because my brother Ed was a tanker in the Marine Corps. And then that was closed up, apparently. So then I said, you know what? And don't y'all clown me for this. Don't y'all clown me for this, all right? But the next thing I called for was, all right, let me do Calf Scout. And they were like, nah, Calf Scout is locked up. They were really pushing for me to come in as a dental specialist, all right? Basically a dental assistant in the Army. I wasn't having it because here's the story behind that. I was a dental assistant as a civilian. So anyways, what ended up happening, I said, no, I want to blow shit up. And then I didn't ask for infantry. You know what? No, I didn't. My brother was in the infantry, and he told me straight up, Danny, you don't want to go infantry. You don't. I know you. You're not gonna, let's just say, I guess my attitude wasn't good enough, or wasn't conducive, I guess, for that place. I probably would have been a permanent private, just because the way things are. Excuse me, I'm drinking Whataburger. Beautiful Dr. Pepper shake, by the way. But anywho, pushing on. I ended up becoming a field artillery member, a cannon crew member, right? But what was the purpose of hitting them? I don't know. I don't know why we ended up going to Iraq in 2003. All I know is that I wanted to be there. And then what ends up happening was I got my wish. I got my wish in December of 2005. December in 2005, I went ahead and got deployed to Baghdad. Arrived in Baghdad and stayed there from December 05 to December 06. Don't know what our mission was. I know what our mission was, which was to go out there and honestly, our mission was to provide security for convoys. of trucks going from the Cross Sabers to the BIOP. If you don't know what the BIOP is, it's a Baghdad International Airport. And that was a great route, by the way. If you guys don't know, good old Route Irish. Cruised that bad boy many a time. The old Route Irish. Anywho, so that was one of our missions. Those were called JoJo runs. Another one was to secure the money that was being sent to Iraq. And I'm talking about these were cargo planes loaded with pallets of millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, y'all. And our job was to secure the convoy of that truck. That truck was in the middle of our gun trucks, and take it to the central bank in Baghdad and buy from buyout. Let me tell you, that's where I earned my money because I was the lead gunner in my platoon. What does that mean? That means I was in the front of the convoy, making holes where holes were none. I was like pretty much, I was Moses with the staff parting the Red Sea. If you ever seen traffic in Baghdad, you'd understand that if there's 2 lanes, somehow or another they make 5. All right. I was able to park that and get us in there. We had priority. And either way, I don't know, other than having to go there and making sure I came back alive. What was our mission? I don't know. All I know, we fell on top of one platoon, came back to another. And I didn't see any WMDs. I didn't hear about any WMDs getting found out. I remember Saddam got captured, and we happened to have to pull guard for him. That was another mission that we had. We had to pull guard for Saddam Hussein. So I got to see the guy twice in my life. I was able to see Saddam Hussein. But we showed our presence out there by patrolling. We did missions with the provincial reconstruction team, PRT. You know, we would escort them from point A to point B, working with the State Department. But again, I don't understand what the whole point was, because after they caught Saddam, then what? This global war on terrorism was poorly fucking planned. There was no end state. It seems there was no end state. And I get it. I was just a lowly old private and a lowly old staff sergeant. So I don't know much about nothing. You know what I mean? To me, my mission was get there, get back safe with my life and those of my soldiers, you know? And seeing, you know, so the first deployment, once again, I was a private, had no idea what we were doing. And honestly, it was a tough one. Because on my very first mission, we got hit and took casualties that day. And it set the pattern for the rest of the deployment. And that's where most of my my good friends that I talk to this day come from, that deployment and also from that incident, the very first incident, that is. But anyways, what was the goal of Iraq? Honestly, they had nothing to do with fucking the towers going down. What was the point of it? I still don't understand what the point was. We went there, we fucked shit up, and then what? What did we get out of it? You know, it still bothers me that I have no idea what we won from this war. Other than creating more people that will hate Americans because their family members were killed or maimed or hurt or injured due to our necessity to impose our will on others. I'm sure that this is a very unpopular opinion, but my job wasn't to my job at that time was not to question, but to act, because I was a soldier, and that's what I wanted to do, was to be a soldier, and soldiers follow orders. You know what I mean? And that's what we do. I figured that, the higher echelon, the higher ups knew what they were doing. You know what I mean? Apparently they didn't, because when I got to Mosul on my second deployment, that was October 2009 to October 2010. It seems like I had good luck with going to like the fucking best cities to visit in Iraq, y'all. First I hit Baghdad, then I hit Mosul. Good night. Mosul, I tell you, I didn't think I was coming back from that one. That one was, I had already accepted that, I was checked out. I was ready to stay out there because just the way things were out there. And but anyways, again, our mission there, even if we were 13 Bravo field artillery cannon crew members, was once again patrolling the streets, rolling that dice. You know what I mean? Is today the day that we're gonna get hit? And once again, which truck was I placed in? The first vehicle. I was in the first vehicle. I was TC of that, and we had the mine roller in front of us sometimes. My crew in my MRAP had already the specific taskings that I gave them. If anybody runs in front of us during our convoy, they are a speed bump. You are not stopping. My driver, Bambi, he knew that 100%. And anytime I had a driver come in there that wasn't Bambi, he was told the same thing. Kids, old men, I don't care. Anybody jumps in front of our convoy, we don't stop. We use them as speed bumps. We are not stopping. My gunner up top in the hatch, Remy. Hey, Remy, what are you going to do if you get a chance? Kill them all, Chief. That's right. Because we were getting hit with RKG3 grenades. And the way they did those was that they would chuck. They were like pretty much like RKG3 is an anti-tank grenade. Basically, it was a Russian grenade that they would throw up. It has a parachute that stabilizes it, and then it drops right into the tank. And it's a point detonated grenade that once it hits, a slug comes out and it fucks shit up inside there. Well, the way these fuckers were using it was they would take the parachute off and they would just line drive that shit to our trucks, our gun trucks. One of them got chucked at us. No, the second time or the first time? I'm trying to remember the first time or second time we got hit. Shit. Oh, the second time we got hit. No, the first time we got hit was on Smoke's truck. Holy shit! And both times were Smoke's truck, wasn't it? I thought about that. Ain't that some shit? Anywho, so the thing was that they would get these grenades and would just chuck them at us like a fastball, and it would strike the side or the top of the fucking MRAP and blow up and kill people. All right. So my gunner up top, I told him, I don't care if he's a 5-year-old, a 50-year-old, or a 90-year-old. If somebody is cocking their hand back, like they're going to throw something at us, you take them out. Take them out. I will take the hit on that. I will, and I gave the order to do that. Because you know what? I'll be judged by 12 before I'm carried by 6. Any day, any time. My soldiers knew that I had their back. My job was to get them home. Funny story. I'm going to tell you a quick story, all right, of how I earned their respect, especially my gunner. I had just got transferred over to that platoon from first platoon. It wasn't even first platoon. I forget what fucking color they were. Maybe red platoon. I don't know. whatever you want to call them. Let's go with Red Platoon. I had just gotten transferred from Red Platoon to Blue Platoon because Red Platoon already had um, NCO, and I was just not doing shit there. So um, I was in the I was like in the dismount NCOIC type deal. What ended up happening was I switched over to Blue Platoon, and they provided them. I switched over for an E5. An E5 went over there because I was sitting like the slot I was doing was good enough for E5, and they needed an E6 in this one truck. All right, so anyways, so I went there and I took over the gun truck and I took over the dismount platoon. On, I don't know if it was our very first, yeah, it was the very first mission that I went on with Blue Platoon. Remy, my gunner, was talking shit. You know, we all talk shit to each other. It's, you know, the 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 mood out there is a lot more calm. But anyways, we were out there and we were in the Al Mansour district out of Mosul. We were out there doing what the civil affairs likes to call atmospherics. Basically, you know, winning hearts and minds type shit. There was a boom that went off in the distance. It sounded like it was close, but not too close. Like still far enough to where it wasn't a direct threat to us at the time. So we were walking around that neighborhood. We're like, hey, you know what? It's starting to get hot out here. It sounds like they're coming over. Let's roll out. So we all mounted up. We were given Doritos, Gatorades, and soccer balls to the kids, right? So we lined up and started to proceed out of that little area. And I think at that time I was in the second truck. Flo was in the first truck, I believe. Yeah, no. Brown was in the first truck. Flo was in the second truck. I was in the third truck, and Smoke Pounds was in the truck behind me. So I was in the third vehicle at the time. And as we're making the right turn to get up out of the neighborhood, and it's like a tiny ass little street, man. MRAP should not have been in this fucking area. This was Humvee territory, not MRAP. I mean, we were taking down power lines. Oh, they hated us for that. But anywho, something in the air had caught up to me where I was looking around. I was scanning like down the streets. I was scanning everything. And sometimes when you've been through shit, when you've been hit, you can feel you can feel something's out there. You know what I mean? You can you could just sense it. You could just sense it. And Remy at the time, the gunner, was saying, "Hey Chief, I heard you done moved over here because you were too scared in the other platoon." And I told him, "Nah, it's not that I'm scared, Remy. It's just that I've been through shit and I'm cautious." And he's like, "I don't know, Chief. It sounded like you were scared. You know, we're just in there talking crap." But at the time, at that moment, I wasn't trying to feel it because my spidey senses were tingling. Let's just say that, all right? And then, you know, so the driver was talking his little shit. I'm talking shit back, but I'm like, "Hey, focus, focus." And then I told him, I told everybody in the truck, we had our Vicks, and I'm like, "Hey, I need y'all to shut the fuck up right now. Pay attention. Something doesn't fucking feel right. Something does not feel." As soon as I said something does not feel, that's when we heard it. Boom! Motherfucking blast right behind us. And Smoke's truck got hit with RKG3. Remy fucking, I'll give him his credit. He did what he had to do. I told him, you know, hey, turn your motherfucking sector to your 3 o'clock and start scanning. You see anybody fucking doing anything threatening, take them out. You know, because all we heard was the blast. I saw the flash off the fucking out of the mirror. I'm trying to get comms with fucking with Blue 3 or with Smoke, with Blue 7. I'm trying to get comms with him, and my comms wasn't working. That's one thing I never understood. Why was it every time we got hit, our comms went down? Anywho, maybe it made the timing skip. I'm not sure. Anywho, after that incident that we got hit, after we, you know, luckily nobody got killed. Beakus ended up with a Purple Heart that day. The medic, I think, ended up with a Purple Heart that day. Braglin ended up with a Purple Heart that day. And Martinez ended up with a Purple Heart that day. They all got hit with the shrapnel from the RKG3. Anywho, the reason I'm telling this story was to let you know that I earned Remy's respect that day because he was like, at first that I was scared, like, nah, I was cautious. I was cautious, and I felt it that shit was gonna happen, and damn, that shit just took me to another fucking day right now, another level. Fuck, what was I telling this story again? I don't even fucking remember, y'all. I got stuck on it. Anywho, but I earned their respect. I earned their confidence because they knew I knew what I was talking about as far as that shit goes, and they knew I had their back from that point forward. And they knew Chief got them. If anything went down, they trusted me. If I said do it without fucking question. I don't know where I was going at with that story. I mean, I don't know where. I'll probably have to rewind this, but I don't ever look at my podcasts anymore. If y'all remember why I was talking about this, let me know. Put it in the comments, y'all. I completely forgot. I get lost in my thoughts sometimes. But that was the second deployment. I still didn't understand what the fuck we were doing out there. Oh, check this one out. While we're out there on our second deployment, we're doing again PRT, the Provincial Reconstruction Team in Mosul, right? Let me take some of my water burger. And at this time, we had some other State Department geeks that were up there, like they worked under Hillary Clinton at the time, and and they would get upset when my gunner would be, I guess, not. I don't want to say, well, was being aggressive. All right, my gunner was being aggressive as he needed to be, because as the lead vehicle, we don't have time to stop, especially when we got VIPs in the vehicle. The VIPs don't understand that just because they think everything's all crimson and clover out there, that it isn't, y'all. It isn't. And but anyways, they try to raise their voice, and not at us, but my platoon sergeant, saying that, why do we have to have piss bottles? Because apparently somebody had a piss bottle. For those that don't know, there ain't no bathrooms in these MRAPs when we go on missions. So they would use Gatorade bottles, and one of the gunners used a Gatorade bottle, capped it up, and threw it down. And apparently, one of the people from the PRT or the State Department didn't think it was kosher for him to do that. Like, why can't they just go take a break to go use the bathroom? So my platoon sergeant, being the way he is, Smoke Pounds, told him, well, sir, if you want to get up there in that hatch while he goes and takes a bathroom break, you can be more than welcome to do so. Needless to say, they didn't want to ride with us anymore. But yet we kept their asses safe every goddamn time. And besides, it's not like they get a fucking choice on who rides with them or who they ride with. But again, one of the saddest things that I saw in Mosul, I don't know if y'all seen when ISIS took over Mosul, where they went into a museum that have sculptures from the times of the Assyrians. I guess they were, like the whole like 5,000, 6,000, like thousands of years old statues that were being destroyed. I was able to see those up close and personal. I'm sure Sergeant Beakus has pictures of him still, because I remember he was in there taking pictures. It was myself, Smoke Pounds, and Sergeant Beakus were in there. And I'm not sure if Chief Thompson, he was a sailor, he was in the Navy. I'm not sure if he was with us on that one. But well, if he went inside with us. But we went in there, dude, and it was amazing to see these statues, these works of art, thousands of years old. And then when I saw them being broken up and destroyed by ISIS after we left, that's when I started thinking, like, what the fuck was the purpose? What was the fucking purpose? That's, I think, where when I started getting the first intrusive thoughts, I guess you could say, of why the fuck did we just spend all these years out here, all these lives out here, and get nothing out of it. Then finally, my last deployment, that was to Afghanistan, March 2012 through November 2012. And I'll tell you what, that one, my experience varied than those that were out there in the, I guess we could say, the shit. My mission in Afghanistan was to train the Afghan field artillery. I worked my ass off to train those guys, y'all. You know, I had 2 weeks to learn a Russian field artillery piece along with my peers, Sergeant Medina, Staff Sergeant Medina, Staff Sergeant Jewel, Staff Sergeant Chino. The fuck was your last name? Christian. Staff Sergeant Christian and myself. They called us the Sixers. I remember that. They called us the Sixers, and we were up there, and our job was to train up the Afghan field artillery. We did it. We did it because we were supposed to go ahead and put them in place as we moved out, right? That's what we thought was going to happen. And it seemed like these guys were motivated to do it. Looks can be deceiving, y'all. Looks can be deceiving. I spent 9 months of my life out there in Afghanistan. It was only a 9-month tour that I went on over there to train these guys. And then 582 came to replace us to continue the mission. But during that time out there, we lost our command sergeant major. Our command sergeant major was killed out there during that time frame. That was a big impact on us. Our morale, it hurt. And not only that, on my second deployment, I had to go to a rim ceremony where basically, if you don't even know what that is, the airplane comes, they station there, and they come pick up the bodies. And there were 4 bodies they were picking up that day. From, I forget what unit they were, but they hit a pretty big fucking IED and blew them all up. Again, why? What was the purpose? So after all that, once I got out, and this is the problem, when you get out, at least for me, when I got out of the military, I started questioning things. You know what I mean? Because while I was in the military, I really didn't question it. I really didn't, because it was more like, I got a job to fucking do. You know what I mean? I got a job to do, and I'm going to fucking do it. But when I got out, I had time to think. I'll tell you something, though, before I continue. When these motherfuckers said the war was over, when I was in Mosul, they said that combat operations had ceased in Iraq. That's when they started Operation New Dawn. I don't know what the fuck they talking about. We were still out there going on fucking patrols and missions. Because I was there in September 2010. I was there all the way through October 2010. And we were still pulling missions and patrols. So I don't give a fuck what the Army or the government tries to classify it as. We were still out there in a war fucking torn area, in a war zone. Like right now, how they have, I guess they got advisors out there. Call them whatever the fuck you want out there. They ain't no motherfucking advisors. They're out there. Those are soldiers doing soldier shit. And just because you want to classify them something something different doesn't take away or lessen it. That they're out there in a conflict. Anyways, what pisses me off the most now that I'm thinking about it, what was the goal? What was the fucking end state of it all? I saw a fucking end. Was it again Escape from Kabul? That's what put all these fucking thoughts in my head. And luckily, I didn't record right afterwards, because I was about to record right afterwards after I watched that shit. I was deep in my I was deep in my feels, y'all. I was deep in my fucking emotions, because if they could have done it in a way where it was gradual, you know what I mean? Like set benchmarks, keep the Taliban out. None of that happened. None of that happened. You had families of Terps, of our Terps. All right. And no, that's not a derogatory word. Terps is what we call our interpreters. They were our Terps. We had their families trying to get out of there because they know that as soon as the Taliban found out that their family member was a Terp, they were done. They were gone. And what do? We just fucking go ahead and good luck if you make it onto the plane, Chuck. You know what I'm saying? So that's my old lady walking in the background. But anywho, I kind of wish I would have recorded right after I watched it because I had more. I think I had more thought on what I wanted to say. Like right now, I don't know. I'm getting kind of frustrated and flustered right now. So I think I'm gonna end it right here, y'all. I just want to know what the fuck was the end state, y'all. You know, let's have a conversation about it inside the comments. Y'all tell me. I mean, you could either agree with me or disagree with me. It's fine with me. I don't care. It's not going to change my point of view. You know what I mean? And I'm not one of those assholes that's going to say like, oh, well, you know, you weren't there. You don't know. No, everybody has their own fucking opinion. Go for it. You know, I think that your opinion might hold a little more water if you deployed. Then I'm not going to say that I value it more, but I say that being that's more experienced and being out there, then you kind of have a better idea, or I'll have a better idea of knowing where you're coming from with it. So don't feel shy, even if you never deployed, even if you're just a civilian. I want to know what your thoughts are. What are your thoughts? Because if you need one reason, I said this earlier on my last podcast. Well, I did a Word on the Streets episode, that if you need one reason to not vote for Biden for this year, I could give you 13. I could give you 13 of them. Just watch Escape from Kabul or Escape from Afghanistan. Whatever the fucking name of that place thing is. Sorry, y'all. I'm starting to get frustrated right now. I'm starting to get pissed because I hate the fact that the suicide bombers went in there, took out 13 of our service members on that day, countless other Afghans and their families, and nobody's fucking putting this blood on fucking Biden where it belongs. This was his fucking doing. All right. This was your doing, President Biden. Their blood is on your hands because you didn't know how to pull us out of there correctly. I would have had more respect if you would have done it with a little bit more tact instead of just fucking pulling us out like ripping a goddamn Band-Aid off a fucking scab. But I'm done with that. You know what? Round's complete. End of mission. Gun line out.